This is a continuation of parts of speech practice. The four most important parts of speech that we will study in reading class are noun, which is a person, place, thing, or idea; verb, an action or state of being; adjective, which describes a noun; and adverb, which describes a verb, adjective, or a complete sentence. These four parts of speech will be listed in the back of your textbook for all the vocabulary words that we will study in this class. How can we use these parts of speech to help us in our reading and our writing? One thing that we can do is when we have sentences where we have to fill in the blank with a word, we can identify two things. Number one, the meaning of the sentence, and number two, which part of speech it uses. In this way, by using two pieces of information, we can make sure our answers to vocabulary questions and our use of vocabulary words is correct. Let's look at two different ways to do that. Number one, not everyone is enough to have internet access at home. One way that I could solve this is I could just use a word that I think I know that would fit in here. So for example, I could say not everyone is lucky enough to have internet access at home. Or maybe I could say not everyone is rich enough to have internet access at home. Then I can work backwards and I can say that rich and lucky are both adjectives. So one way that I could figure out what part of speech I need is see which word I need and then work backwards and put the part of speech. But that doesn't always work well, okay? So let's look a little more deeply. When we have a sentence like this, the most important for selecting a research topic is that you are really interested in it. Which part of speech should go in the blank? Should it be a noun, verb, adjective, or adverb? Let's see. I know the answer to this, and it is that it should be a noun. How do I know that? I know because of this word, the. Anytime that a sentence starts, or a phrase that we are working with starts with the, a, or an, it must end with a noun. So I will show you some examples. If we start with a, an, the, one, or a possessive word. A possessive word means like my, his, America's, Julia's, okay, or something like that. Okay, after one of these phrases, we must have a noun. But in fact, we have three different ways that we can get to the noun. So one thing we can do after these determiners is we can go directly to a noun. So we could say, for example, a car, okay, or the car, my car, America's car. We can only put a noun here. We can't put a verb. So we cannot say like a go or the eat. It doesn't work, okay? But another thing we could do instead is, we could start with an adjective, okay? And an adjective would be like blue. If we have an adjective, we would need a noun next, like car. So that means we would have a car or a blue car. Again, we can't say a blue go, okay, or the blue study. It doesn't work. We can't put a verb here. It always has to end in a noun, okay? There's one more option, which is that we could start with an adverb, okay, like very, okay? And after an adverb, we would probably have another adjective, like nice. And then finally, we have a noun like car. Okay, the very nice car, my very nice car. Okay, the most important thing to see is that every time that we finish a phrase like that, which is called a noun phrase, we end it in a noun. It's almost always true. Okay, there might be an adjective or an adverb before it, but it has to end in a noun. So let's look back at the example in number 2. It says the most important. So here I look to see if I have a noun, and I don't. So I need to have a noun here. That means this one is an adverb and this is an adjective. It follows the third pattern here, adverb, adjective, and then noun. All right, let's look at number 3. Number 3, one result of rainy weather is that the dust is regularly washed off, reducing problems with the machinery. So here we have our 1 point, but we already have a noun here. Okay, so we already have a noun that completes the phrase. The noun is result. So what can go in the blank before result? Let's look. Before a noun, we can have an adjective. We can't just have an adverb by itself. It would have to be an adverb with an adjective. So we can have an adjective. So that means that the correct part of speech here is going to be an adjective. Okay, so we could say one important result or one significant result. Those would be examples of adjectives. Okay. So I'm not going to do all of the problems in this set, but I want to show a couple more. I will skip number 4 and we can check it later. And we're going to look at number 5. I don't really like science, but my parents decided to me to take biology and chemistry. So probably here you think my parents decided to push me or force me, and that is a verb. Okay, so many times with to, we have a verb. Okay, but not always. Many times when we have this word to, we have a verb, but it's not always true. Okay, for example, if I say, I want to give the flowers to my mother. Is my mother a verb? No, my mother is a noun. Okay, let's look at a few other examples of when we would use a verb. So another example of when we would use a verb is in number 13. The teacher did not completely verb the student's suggestion. Or number 15, the video does not verb material information. So after does not, did not, or any type of helping verb, auxiliary verb like should, could, would, should not, could not, would not, we always need a verb. Okay, this is also an auxiliary verb, did not, so that's why we need a verb. Completely is an adverb, but it doesn't change our need for a verb. Whenever we have these kind of helping verbs, the next thing we need after them is a verb. So let's add that a little bit to our table here. So if we have did not, should not, could, should, must, doesn't, okay, will not or will, all of these types of verbs, we're always going to follow them by a verb. Okay, so we really studied a lot about how to use verbs and how to use nouns, adjectives, and a little bit about adverbs. But let me show you one more about adverbs. Okay, so sometimes when you don't know which part of speech it is an adverb. If you ever have a really difficult sentence like this where you're trying to figure something out and you just don't know which one it is, I'm just saying that many times it's an adverb. That just seems to be my experience. Okay, so let's look at an example of a sentence that has an adverb. Global warming is an serious problem facing today's world. So here we have an. So do we have a noun to complete the phrase with an? Yes, we do. We have problem. And before problem, we have an adjective, which is serious. So that means we have to have an adverb here. That means also that when we have an, the adverb probably starts with a vowel sound. So we could say global warming is an extremely serious problem facing today's world. If you like these activities, If you liked these activities, please look on Blackboard for Parts of Speech Extra Practice and Parts of Speech Academic Word. That's where all these practices came from, and you can also do more practice and it will help you correct it, probably even easier than with the paper worksheet. Okay, so please my possessions and not use them without asking permission. So we can also see more examples here, and then up here is where we choose which part of speech it is. So here I see do not and will. So most people do not politicians. Okay, we will not and we will So I think that has to be a verb. And now it tells me I'm correct, and it actually tells me what the word is, and then I can go to the next sentence. So these are all academic words, which means that they're those kind of more difficult words that we have in English. So I would highly recommend this website as a way to continue practicing your parts of speech. If this video was very difficult for you, my next suggestion will be this is a great topic to study in ESL tutoring. You can make a tutoring appointment and meet with a tutor for 30 minutes. They will explain this to you even more, answer your questions, and give you more practice activities. Thank you.